Hello, YouTube. Hello, Twitch. Is Twitch connected yet? There we go. All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. Hope you are having a good weekend so far. Hope you've had a peaceful week. Welcome. If you've got any questions or comments, please drop them in the chat. My name is Nathan Goheen, and I wanted to do a live stream this week about a quote that I read by a man named Philip Guston, maybe Philip Guston. I didn't know this man, so if I pronounced his name wrong, I'm sorry. Anyways, Philip Guston said, "When you start working, everybody is in your studio. The past, your friends, enemies, and above all, your own ideas, all are there. But as you continue, they start leaving, one by one, and you are left completely alone. Then, if you're lucky, even you leave." And this really struck me. Prior to reading this, maybe one or two times, I had heard this sentiment expressed. And I think it's a very valuable idea that does not get mentioned. So I wanted to spend the live stream talking about it. So let's kind of dissect this. When you start working, everybody is in your studio. The past. All right? The past is a reference point. It's nothing more, it's nothing less. It's important to know your history so you know where you're going. I'm sure you've heard that before. And that's true. You do need to know your history. The further back you go in history, the further forward you can propel yourself. But don't be bound by history. Don't try to continually repeat it. In the artistic world, it makes me think of hip hop. Because a lot of the music is created using samples from older music. They're reaching back, pulling music from their past, bringing it up to the present day, and propelling music forward. They're revitalizing it and adding something new. I think it's beautiful. And any music that has been generationally built, meaning that the building blocks are taught, but maybe they're not dogmatically maintained, meaning you have some room to play with those building blocks. Any of those art forms are kind of like something to shoot for. So we've got the past. What about our friends? Our friends are in the studio with us. And our friends maybe they influence us because they may like something about us, and we may subconsciously try to repeat that. Even if it's not where we are at, we may try to do something that our friends have liked in the past, and we know that it worked, and so we'll try to replicate that. And we might stagnate our growth because of that. It's dangerous. What about the enemies? I don't know if it means like, I guess it could mean true artistic enemies, or it could just mean ideals, right? Could be the negative criticism in our head. Could be us just knee-jerk reacting against something that we don't like. Instead of doing what comes naturally, we're going to force ourselves to do the opposite of something. You don't need to do the opposite. You need to do what comes natural, right? If you're forcing yourself to do the opposite of something just because you don't like that thing, then that's coming from a bad space. What else do we have here? When you start working, everybody's in your studio. The past, your friends, your enemies, and above all, your own ideas. All are there. Your own ideas. Maybe experiments that you want to try. Maybe past experiments that you know worked and you want to use again. You could start off with a piece about subject matter A, we'll call it. You know, you have an idea for your piece. And that idea we're calling A. And if you allow it, that letter A can morph all the way to the letter Z. If you allow it. It's all about letting go of any preconceptions and letting the work tell you where it wants to go. Letting the work dictate the direction. And this is really, really tough. This is really, really tough because we get attached. We get attached to outcomes that we desire. I think this is true in life. And so we want to influence the work or our life to achieve what we think we desire. I think I want this work to sound like this, so I'm going to make it sound like that, as opposed to just creating something and then saying, what does the work want to sound like? Letting the work be the living thing. And it's tough. It's really tough because you want the work to aesthetically represent you, right? And tastes change. So we need to take out as much of ourself as we can, as much of our own little individual preferences as we can. And when we take all this stuff out, what we have is a more concentrated, pure form of the art. The integrity is more intact. And that integrity, the intactness of that integrity, will reach a wider audience. And it will speak as a celebration of life and of humanity. It's not a celebration of an individual or an individual's accomplishments or an individual's ego. It's about the collective. I was kind of thinking a little bit more along these lines. I'm a big Miles Davis fan. And he was famous for not wanting to talk about his music. So the music speaks for itself. And in doing that, he didn't color the musical experience for the listener. He just gave them the pure, concentrated form. And then let the individual perceive it. And it's crazy because Miles Davis passed like 30 years ago. And even to this day, people are trying to sound like him. Trying to play like him. And what they're trying to do is capture the truth that he had. I also got to thinking about how art was perceived, visual art, back in the day. And I was just like, did Michelangelo, did he sign the Sistine Chapel? So I started digging a little research. Michelangelo only signed one of his works, La Pietà. It was a sculpture that was either misattributed. People thought that he didn't do it. Maybe he was too young. That was the only piece he signed. Think about that. The only piece that Michelangelo signed was one sculpture. And that was because people didn't believe that he could do it. It's a very different mindset than what is promoted nowadays. It's a very different mindset. So then it got me thinking, what if I was in a museum and I wanted to see a Michelangelo, but I couldn't use his name? What words would I use to locate that? How would I say, I want to see these works by this man? How would I search for Miles Davis's music if I couldn't use Miles Davis? What words would I use? And those words are the essence of the work that those artists gave us. Even Prince, when he was going through the artist formerly known as Prince, or the symbol. I know a lot of that was tied up with his record company, but think about that. He was referring to himself as a symbol. That automatically abstracts the creator. If this is unpronounceable, if the artist's name is unpronounceable, that abstracts the work, you know? So if we want to leave the room that our art is in, we need to practice leaving the room in general. Meditating, praying, breathing exercises, physical exercises, yoga, even something as simple as daydreaming. Those are all ways to practice leaving the room, so to speak. Anything intentionally done that allows us to go outside and kind of go on autopilot. I think that's the goal. It's not exactly autopilot, but that's the closest phrase that I can come to. And I think that we should practice this so that we get comfortable doing it and being in that space, so that when we integrate our art, another outside element, when we integrate this outside element into it, we're comfortable. And we're experienced with that sensation, and we know how to function within that environment and within that sensation. So like I said, I think the idea of removing ourselves from the art is very powerful, very under-discussed, very under-thought about. But I think it's kind of the pinnacle of what we can hope to achieve. To get at something so truthful that it applies to everyone and not just my or your personal experience. This is our collective personal experiences. I hope you thought that was cool. As always, join me every Join me every Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube or on Twitch. I'll do these live streams. I've got my Venmo in my YouTube account, like under the more information or whatever it may be. So if you like this and want to contribute, donate, that would be awesome. Also, I offer lessons, whatever they may be, mixing lessons, helping finish a song, whatever it may be. Let me know. I offer 100% money back guarantee, so you got nothing to lose. And tune in next Saturday. Have a great week. Be peaceful, be kind, and I'll see you then.